How's it going, everyone? If you're new to the channel or returning, we want to say welcome. Today we're going to be talking about renting versus buying here in San Antonio and the key differences you may want to know.
Yeah, it's going to be a good topic. Let's check it out. How's it going, everyone? My name's Alyssa.
And my name's Frank.
And we are the River City property team here located in San Antonio, Texas. Now, before we get started, feel free to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell because we'll be putting out new videos each week about living in our beautiful city.
Right, and we're licensed real estate agents here in the state of Texas and a husband and wife team. So if you're thinking of relocating to San Antonio, whether that be for work or just a change of scenery, we would love to assist you in any way we can and just be a resource of information for you. So feel free to reach out to us with the information on the screen with a phone call, text, or email, and we would love to help. So with that said, let's dive right into renting versus buying. Now, there's going to be pros and cons to both renting versus buying, and it really comes up to you as an individual to decide which option is going to be best for you.
Right, so everybody's going to be in their own season of life, so what may be the best option for one person is not always going to be the same for the other person. And what we really want to do in this video is just try to provide as much helpful information to anyone out there who may be on the fence about deciding whether renting or buying is the right option for them in this moment.
Now, the first topic on the list in terms of renting versus buying is going to be the upfront cost that you're going to experience on both ends. Now, in terms of buying, it really comes down to the down payment and your closing costs. Now, closing costs can be anywhere in price, but it really goes based on the whole overall price of the home. Now, in terms of renting, you do have some fees up front.
Yes, and with renting, you cannot completely get away from upfront costs. You're still going to have to pay something when you're renting, and those fees are usually going to consist of the security deposit, application fees, pet fees. If the landlord allows pets and you have a pet, you're going to have to pay some pet fees. But going back to the security deposit, just like Frank mentioned earlier, with closing costs on a home, security deposits will vary as well. They can vary anywhere from, typically it's 1 month's rent, but again, it can vary all the way to a couple months rent. So that price is just going to vary just like closing costs would on a home.
But ultimately, between buying and renting, buying does usually have a substantial amount of money up front that you may have to consider. Right? So if you're relocating and you're just wanting to take a look at San Antonio or any other state for that matter, maybe renting could be an option, right? And another factor that we want to move into is going to be the overall flexibility, whether you're buying or renting. Now, don't get me wrong. Buying a home is a great investment. However, it can be a very large investment at that. Now, what do I mean in terms of flexibility? Well, if you're renting, you have the opportunity to move from one rental to another in a rather short amount of time.
Yeah, and that's not to say that when you own your home, you can't move around at all. Of course you can. Just the process is going to take a little longer than if you were renting. You would be able to move a lot quicker. When you own your own home, you obviously have to, put it on the market and wait for a buyer. Things like that. So of course you can still move around. The process is just going to take a little longer to do. But there's also different options for you as well. I don't want to just kind of like cut it there. If you are moving, you don't necessarily have to sell your home. That kind of presents an opportunity for investments if you wanted to dive into that, which Frank and I will dive into in a different video when it comes to rentals and investments. But just going back to renting and the flexibility aspect of it, people who have a career or jobs that require you to move around a lot, sometimes the flexibility is something that is more appealing to them.
Now, what does renting versus buying really offer in terms of money, right? What I mean by that is, where is your money going while you're in this rental or while you're in your home, and where is that money going towards? Well, we want to talk about home equity. Well, if you're in the middle of a rental, and let's say you're there for a couple months or dependent on your situation, whether it be work or just overall life of where you're at in your life, that money is going to go towards paying off the mortgage for that landlord that is then renting out that home. When you're purchasing a home and you've bought a home, whether it be $300,000 or $400,000, and let's say over time that home does appreciate, well, at the same time you are paying off that mortgage, but then increasing the amount of value that is left into that mortgage.
Yeah, and all of that money is going towards your home equity. So when you own your own home, you're building equity for yourself, and when you're renting, you are, putting that money towards somebody else's home equity.
And like I said, renting is there's nothing wrong with renting. But like I said, if you're wanting to experience San Antonio, if you're renting in California like some of our clients are, or renting in New York, and then you want to just see what San Antonio is like, feel free to rent. Now, if we're renting year after year after year, then we may want to reevaluate to see where our money's going, when in turn it could possibly be going down to the mortgage of your loan for your home, right? So many options to consider, but we definitely wanted to touch on the home equity portion.
Okay, next topic we want to talk about is maintenance when it comes to renting versus buying. So something that is really appealing to renters is going to be the fact that maintenance is taken care of by the landlord, not really the renter, right? So those big maintenance issues, that's something that you won't have to worry about when you're renting.
Right, now that can be anything from the AC to the water heater to maybe even the fence. The gate mechanism isn't working, so then you have to call somebody else, call the landlord to have that fixed. It's not your home to make those adjustments, but it's that home to be notified to the landlord that these adjustments need to be made, which can be very appealing for the renting side.
Yes. Now, on the flip side to that, when you notify, your landlord or the property management company that something needs to get repaired, I would say the only downside to that would be that you are now on somebody else's time, right, to get that item fixed or repaired. For instance, right now in San Antonio, we're experiencing some triple-digit heat, right? So you definitely don't, whether you're renting or owning your own home, you definitely don't want that AC to go out. If it does, because things like that do happen, and if you're renting, then it's going to be up to the landlord, obviously, to fix that. Now, I would hope that, especially during this time of heat that we're experiencing, that landlords aren't waiting forever to, get those things fixed. But, sometimes, it may not get fixed as fast as you would like it to.
If it was yours. Which leads us into the buying side of maintenance. And I want to just quickly touch on the fact that Alyssa mentioned that triple-digit heats in one of the past videos that we did talk about how we had to replace our evaporating coils for our AC. Now, in a home buying situation, right, where we're buying our home and we're paying off our mortgage, that was an additional hit as far as a fee, because that was a couple $1,000s. I think it was about $4,000 to $5,000, possibly $1,000 that we had to come out of pocket, whether or not we chose to finance that issue or not. But that was a hit to us that was kind of random, right? So when you're renting, you can just have a landlord approach you, fix that situation. But when you're purchasing a home and you're owning a home, those are things that you may have to consider. Now, we also have a water softener, like I said, water heater and stuff like that. So we're just saying our prayers that everything goes well and that we don't have another issue coming into our hands. But those are just things to consider, definitely.
Homeownership is so rewarding, and like Frank mentioned earlier, it's also a really big investment. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to protect that investment.
Right. Now, we're not financial advisors by any means. However, I can speak to the fact that we do have a reserve on the side for those unexpected maintenances that do arise. So you definitely want to be prepared. Now let's move into talking about the stability and the freedom that you get when owning your own home. Now, as far as freedom is concerned, you can do, whatever you want to do with that home. So if you want to paint the color of the walls, you can paint them a different color, whatever you choose. If you want to remodel your bathroom, if you want to add any structures in the back of the yard, you can do that, whether it be a deck or whether it be a shed or some landscaping. The choice would be ultimately yours.
Yeah, and on the other hand, when you're renting, you kind of have to ask permission first, right, before you make any changes to the home. So you're gonna want to ask if you can paint the walls. I'm not sure that a whole remodel would get approved, but
probably most likely not.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to pretty much ask permission before you do anything to the home.
Now let's talk about the stability aspect of owning or renting a home. Well, in terms of owning a home, the stability aspect of what we're talking about is going to be the stability of your monthly payment. Now, sure, your monthly payment could fluctuate because of tax taxes or whatever development is happening around you and the infrastructure that is being built around you, but more than likely you're going to be stable on that payment. Now, in terms of rental, you are susceptible to having that rental amount be changed.
And with the rise of interest rates this past year and the inflation that we've all experienced, home prices have gone up, but so have rentals.
Right, and if you are in a rental and you've been with that landlord for quite some time, whether it be several months or even several years, it's very possible that that landlord has either chose to keep that monthly payment the same, or they have the opportunity to increase that monthly payment. So when we talk about stability, that's exactly what we're talking about. Every landlord is going to be different and have a difference of opinion, I guess, in terms of their monthly payment.
Yes, and so it's going to vary by landlord, but just renting in general, you do kind of run that risk of not having that stable payment that you would if you own a home. Now, there's really no right or wrong option when it comes to renting or buying. It's really going to come down to what's best for you and your family. Now, while financing is a large portion, or a large factor, if you will, when it comes to deciding whether you should rent or buy, it's not the sole factor. There are other things to consider, like your career, what are your long-term plans, what your personal preferences are even. Those are all things that should be considered before making such a large investment.
And in regards to financing, we have seen a spike in rentals all over the United States, not just solely here in the San Antonio area. Now, while some have the opportunity to pay for a down payment on the home of their choice, there are some that are renting currently but are saving money on the side for that down payment. Now, whether you choose to purchase a home in the next 6 months or in the next year, we just want to remind you guys that we are here at the time when you need us most.
Yes, feel free to call us or text us because we'd love nothing more than to help you invest in your future.
And with that said, we want to remind you guys that we are licensed real estate agents here in the state of Texas and that husband and wife team. So guys, feel free to reach out to us at any time of the day with this information on the screen with a phone call, text, or email, and we would love to help you with all of your real estate needs. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you guys on the next one.